Why are most of us, not you nor I, not Steve Baker, but why are most of us, and certainly the vast majority of MPs, accepting this continued assault on our civil liberties?
I find it really worrying. I think we have now landed in the new normal. It looks like this is going to be life going ahead. And the problem is that viruses mutate. That's what they do. There is always going to be a new variant of COVID, well, for the foreseeable future anyway. So if we respond like this to every new variant, then we're going to be locked in this spiral of doom and authoritarianism for a long time. And the thing that's really worrying me at the moment is that I thought we had a deal with the government. The government said, listen, get vaccinated, protect yourself against the virus, and then we'll go back to normal. We held up our side of the bargain. The vast majority of people got vaccinated. The government has not held up its side of the bargain. It hasn't brought us back to normality. It is bringing in new restrictions on a whim, taking away our liberties overnight, and it's betraying what it told us it would do. So I think Omicron represents a really worrying turning point, because it looks like the COVID authoritarianism is now being institutionalized for the foreseeable future.
I think you're completely right. And that's why the point that was particularly powerful, I think, in Steve Baker's incredible speech today was that actually this isn't about, where the mask mandates are in place or what the specific test and trace regulation is. This is specifically about the fact that surely if we're going to learn to live with COVID, it's been up to individuals to make their own choices about what's responsible and what's sensible, rather than the government becoming the true definition of the nanny state.
Yeah, the mask thing in particular makes no sense to me whatsoever. You have to wear a mask in a supermarket and on the train and on the bus, but you don't have to wear it in a crowded pub or in the gym or anywhere else. And by the way, I'm not saying that we should have to wear it in all public places.
No, but it should be consistent.
It's just very... It's symbolic of the fact that this is a very performative gesture, I think, that people are making. And wearing a mask has become a way of saying, well, I'm a good, caring person. I'm socially aware. I'm switched on. And that's what it increasingly represents. But, the point that Steve Baker made that I thought was very important was that the relationship between the individual and the state is being radically transformed. Now, that's been happening for the past 20 months, ever since the first lockdown. And there were lots of debates to be had about whether locking down was the right thing to do. Some people say it was, and some people say it wasn't. But to carry on rearranging the relationship between the individual and the state, even now when more than 90% of Brits have got antibodies of some form or another, that is really shocking, and it shouldn't be allowed to take place. We've got to really start recovering that sense of individual freedom, limiting government power, and getting back to a situation where we are free to make choices and weigh up risks as we see fit.
I absolutely agree. But what do you say, Brendan, to a lot of folk, including people in the Conservative Party who are a little bit uncomfortable about some of the more draconian restrictions, who say to me, oh, look, Dan, it's just a mask. It's just a day 2 isolation test. It's not too bad. This could have been a lot worse, so let's just accept it. What's your message to them, Brendan, about why it's important not to just accept it?
Yeah, I've heard those arguments too, that people are saying these are mild measures in the scheme of things. They're not that bad. In fact, they're not that mild. Some people won't be able to go abroad, for example, to visit family members. Large families might not be able to afford holidays now because you have to pay a lot of money to get a PCR test when you return. So they are having a big impact. But my response to that point is very simple, which is that it's not just the individual restrictions themselves that are a problem. It's the permanent threat of restrictions. It's the fact that COVID rules hang over us like Damocles' sword. It could fall upon us at any moment. And people aren't really free if they have to live in that kind of situation where your liberty could be snatched away from you, where you could wake up one morning and have fewer freedoms than you did the day before. That makes us feel like we're not the masters of our own destiny. We never really know what's going to happen. We can't really see the future or plan our everyday lives. And it's that culture, I think, that's crushing the sense of freedom at the moment. So It's not the restrictions itself, it's the fact that we keep being shunted back into the restricted life. And that's what we've got to wriggle free from and get out of this spiral of doom.